238 illegal migrants who were on their way to Venezuela from the United States arrived in El Salvador early Sunday morning after a judge blocked the enforcement of a rarely used wartime act signed by former U.S. President Donald Trump. On Saturday, Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act for the first time since World War II, granting himself extensive powers under a law originally passed in 1798. This law was intended to deport individuals allegedly linked to Venezuelan gangs. The act would have allowed the president to bypass due process rights for migrants categorized as threats, enabling their swift deportation. This act had previously been used during World War II to justify the internment of people of Japanese, German, and Italian descent. However, just hours after Trump signed the order, Judge James Bosberg intervened and blocked the act's enforcement. The judge stated that Trump had failed to provide sufficient justification for invoking such drastic powers. Despite the ruling, the planes carrying the detainees were already in the air, headed for Venezuela. The judge instructed that the planes be turned back to the U.S., but a last-minute offer from El Salvador's president allowed the planes to land in the Central American country. It is reported that the U.S. government agreed to pay El Salvador $6 million to imprison the deported migrants for at least a year. The situation has raised alarm among civil rights groups and some Democratic leaders, who argue that this entire episode sets a dangerous precedent. They fear it could lead to mass deportations and trigger further legal challenges regarding migrants' rights and due process.
My argument is that we already have tools that are available to remove undocumented violent people from our country, giving them this wide latitude to just kind of go across and just claim that anything is wrong. And so we do have courts, we do have processes, we do have laws, and we should just go ahead and use those. There's a reason that nobody else has decided to go back until into Adam's times in order to try to find ways to make sure that we can keep our country safe.
Some GOP representatives, however, are celebrating Trump's decision, viewing it as a necessary step to address what they consider a growing security threat posed by migrants allegedly linked to Venezuelan gangs. They argue that the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act was an appropriate measure to protect U.S. interests and ensure the safety of American citizens. These representatives believe that such strong actions are essential in combating illegal immigration and preserving national security.
I am happy to see that the president is following through on his promises to keep Americans safe. This means removing criminals, particularly those involved in drug or gang activities, who are clearly criminal in nature, from the United States.
Judge Bosberg's blockade will only remain in effect for 14 days. He has scheduled another hearing in the case for later this month. For City News, I'm Carling on H.